Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, dogs and cats, cows and horses, whoever's out there in the listening land. Good afternoon. This is the Common Sense with Conn call-in talk show on KTEM AM on your radio dial, 1400. So if you have a question or a statement or whatever, if you want to bless our lives with some of your intelligent conversation, the phone number here is 254-773-1400. That's 773-1400. So now I warn you, most of the shows I come prepared with about 6 or 7 pages of notes to discuss on the show, but it's gotten to where I open the show and the phone rings and I never get to my notes, because this show is about y'all. It's not about me. It's about having you a voice in the community and in the state, in the country. At any rate, so I don't have any notes today. So y'all better help me by calling in. And we have a call right now. Yes, caller, go ahead on.
Hello. Am I the caller? You're talking to...
You are it.
Well, that be me then. Gosh, I got an earful for you.
Okay, go ahead on.
Well, you know, I've been listening, not just to you, but to other programs and stuff, and talking with friends, and it's it's those pesky Democrats or those rotten Republicans, whichever way that you want to go on it. And I've been pretty much the conservative side of the aisle all my existence, and the other day talking to a friend, and the friend, for what it's worth, he came here on one of those diversity lotteries from another country, but he tells me that, that we're the greatest place, greatest country that there is.
You're saying he's more loyal to America than some Americans?
Well, I know this is true, but, I guess one day he was hearing me squawking about the Democrats, and he brought up, and once we got to talking about it, and he said, because of his, English is his second language, and that, I was able to come up with phrases to, communicate what he was getting at, and that the Republican Party's got a lot of rats in their woodpile.
Well, so does both the parties, but I would say to you that as I watch the news, and I watch the news media, and I watch Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters and Chuck Schumer, if you listen to what they're saying and simply apply some common sense and some logic to what they're saying, and then what conclusion can you draw from that?
The toxic river is a lot deeper on their side than it is ours.
Oh,
a whole lot wider.
I mean,
but we got our own.
I agree with you. We got problems on both sides, but the problems with truth on the Democrat side is 1,000 times greater than the problem on the Republican side. And if you listen to both sides, how can you draw any other conclusion than that?
Well, I listen to both sides, and every day when I look in the mirror, I pinch myself because I know I'm not a Democrat.
Well, I was born and raised a Democrat.
Well, I am.
But I'm not. I wouldn't no more claim to be a Democrat today than I would claim to be a member of the Communist Party.
Well, they're not what they used to be, I don't guess.
No, they're not.
They're not. But since I was, I guess my wife had a name for my generation. I forget what she called us, the baby boomers or something.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we lost the Democratic Party in the 80s.
And, well, anyways, it was,
Well,
You know
but
what? I guess what rips my tail about it the most is when I have friends that are telling me that, well, see, I have a disabled child, and he's an adult now. His schooling was a debacle that, you know, I don't even want to get onto that. I'll
make us all bad.
I might make it all bad, but anyways, now that he's an adult, what I've noticed is that the dang the powers that be are, you know, cutting funding for all of them, and you know, all the programs that, you know, help support their lives and stuff, and yet, you know, goes back to, you know, the Democrats, you know, they're, you know, us, you know, they want to, you know, like that Beto guy was promoting open borders.
Well, you know, keep in mind that the government, when they cut programs, they don't cut just the program to your son or daughter. They cut across the board, and there's going to be winners and losers, and you know, you can't pick and choose each individual that you cut or increase the cost for.
Well, but not only that, the Democrats tried, when they started this Obamacare, they were going to go ahead. Caller, thanks for your call. We appreciate it. Hopefully you'll call back in next Saturday. They started talking about the fact they wanted to make sure that they hurried up and got the baby boomers out, so they didn't have to pay all that Social Security, all the Medicare, all the disability, that they wanted to go ahead and try to get anybody who had chronic illnesses and get them written off. And so the only ones they had to really take care of is the millennials and, you know, the refugees. So they had their voting mass, but they didn't have to worry about the rest of us who might have some intelligence and would vote against them and stand up to them.
Well, and there's been some comments here lately that I've heard that we need to get rid of everybody that's over the age of 30, which is reminiscent of a fellow named Abbie Hoffman that was touring college campuses back in the 70s, and he advocated, don't listen to anyone over 30. Go home and kill your mother and your father, and anybody over 30, kill them. Don't listen to them. Now, that's an extreme example, but some young people at that period of time in the universities believed what that moron said. So there is that thinking out there that you should not listen to anyone over 30 years of age.
They've also done it where they have population control now because nobody can afford it. They raised the rate, you know, everybody had to go to university, okay? Then the student loans were so high, nobody could afford a home, nobody could afford diapers, nobody could afford formula. The woman had to work, so she wasn't going to breastfeed and pump all the time, so most of the kids were put on, you know, formula. The formula is so darn expensive, you can't, you know, you just can't afford it.
Well,
and et cetera, et cetera. So they've made a very complicated, twisted, vicious circle.
They did, and they have taken over the left, the progressives, whatever you want to call them. They have taken over the education system in this country. So what do you think our young people what are they going to learn through the current education system? You know, are they going to learn good Christian principles, good traditional values? Are they going to learn the value of truth as opposed to political correctness? What are they going to learn in our education system today? As opposed to what would they learn if they were home talking to grandma and grandpa about what used to happen back in the old days when there was some sane, sensible people around. I don't know. There's two sides to every story, but I'm just saying, you know, the caller mentioned Democrats and Republicans, and there's problems in both parties, and I agree totally with that. But I'm just saying, if you apply some common sense and some logic to what you're hearing Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, etc., listen to them and then apply some common sense to what they're saying. I don't understand how anybody could listen to that stuff and then come away agreeing with it. I don't know how you do that.
Well, there was an article that I posted on on Conn's Facebook page about how much citizens of the United States had forgotten or never knew about the United States history. And one of the things in that article was the citizenship test, the United States citizenship test. Well, after reading that to Conn's going to rewrite it and submit it because, oh my word.
Yeah, I don't know who drew up that citizenship test, but the only way for me to describe that is there's a scripture somewhere that says, in the last days, man will confound himself with his own intelligence. I see examples of that every day. And that citizenship test is an example of that.
What, this thing is not worth bathroom read or bathroom use.
No,
it's really horrible, and it's current. It's current,
so,
but
and this is supposed to apply to refugees from other countries, or,
anybody applying for citizenship.
Yeah, and why would you expect any foreigner to even comprehend the questions in that test?
So
it's so crazy. It's left-wing gobbledygook, But anyway.
Well, it's not. Most of it's not applicable to living in today's age. It really isn't. And for somebody coming in here from another country, it really makes no sense to them. Anyway, so I'm going to read one of these questions, and we're going to go over the answers, and y'all can respond. And then if we have time, I'll read over a few more, and then y'all can call in and see if you know the answers to them. This question is question 53. What is one promise that you make when you become a United States citizen? So here are the answers that you can choose from. It's not multiple choice. These are all the correct answers. Give up loyalty to other countries. Well, let's see. We have all these invading aliens coming with their flags. I don't think they're interested in doing that. Defend the Constitution and the laws of the United States. Don't think they're doing that because they're jumping the fence. Obey the laws of the United States. Still don't think they're doing that. Serve in the United States military if needed. You can serve in the United States military now, even if you're not a citizen of the United States, which I think is just a security issue like no other.
But see, apply some common sense to those questions and tell me how much sense it makes. Obey the laws of the United States. Hey, you just jumped the fence illegally. You just violated the law of the United States. And now we expect them to obey the laws of the United States. The first act they committed was a violation of the law.
Well, what about just tearing down the fence between Guatemala and Mexico? Okay, all those young men taking their brute force and ripping the fence down. Isn't that pretty much against the law? I mean, the fence is there for a reason.
Well, just look at those questions and then look at the TV on the news, and you see those thousands and thousands of people, and not all of them, but a good number of them are carrying flags from the country that they're fleeing. If they're fleeing Guatemala or Honduras because of the horrible situation down there, why in the cat hair are they carrying a flag promoting that country? If you're so proud of that country, why don't you stay in it? And if you're not proud of that country, what are you doing with the flag? It don't make sense. But anyway, something else that I wanted to bring up today is a subject that I just woke up thinking about. And it's just a old country kind of common sense thinking, I guess. But what got me started thinking about this is Jake McClure last Saturday on his show Saturday morning. He made a statement that I could not agree more with. His statement was, modern technology is destroying skills. You think about that. Now everything we do, you punch the keys on a computer and it performs that task, whatever it is. So how many people are learning skills? We're seeing people today that are 25 years old and they can't change a flat tire on the car. We're seeing people 20-something years old that they can't work. They don't know how to work.
Well, what about that state that just this last year made it legal for people to pump their own gas and nobody knew how to, so they were still going to the full service stations?
I say this every day. There is a shortage of people that can do anything except punch a computer.
You mean can't do anything except punch a computer?
Yeah, my daughter builds houses. She can't hire any help. She can't find any labor like a carpenter or a tile layer or a plumber or an electrician. And when she does find one, she can't afford him. I was talking about this the other day to a friend of mine down close to Austin. He had hired a plumber to do something, repair his bathroom. I don't know what it was. That plumber gets $150 an hour. His overhead is a pickup truck and a toolbox. $150 an hour. I bet there's doctors that don't average $150 an hour. So my point being, all of this modern technology and all of the college degrees and all of the push for college degrees is destroying labor. It's destroying skills. What comes to mind is how many of you out there in listing land knows what an inch bar is? Now, I know this is old technology, but I do have a point to this. An inch bar is something that, it weighs about 25 or 30 pounds, about 6 foot long. But a man that weighs 150 pounds can take an inch bar if he wants to move a boxcar on a rail siding at a grain elevator or wherever it's at. If that rail car needs to be moved 2 foot or 1 foot, that man can take that old inch bar, and by applying that inch bar underneath the steel wheel on a steel railroad track, he can move that boxcar that weighs 80,000 pounds. He weighs 150 pounds or 200 pounds, and the inch bar weighs 25 pounds, but he can move that 60 or 80,000 pound car. Okay, he doesn't have a computer. He doesn't have modern technology. He only has an inch bar because of leverage. How many people today understand leverage? Okay, you say, well, what does that have to do with anything today? Well, it has to do with the loss of skills and the loss of common sense. Just for example, an example of leverage again, I bought a Alco diesel motor once upon a time years ago. It goes in a locomotive. I bought it over in Tyler, and I needed to load it on a trailer truck to go to Canada. Well, I tried to hire a crane, and they wanted $800 an hour or something like that. So anyway, I got a hold of a man with an oil field bed truck, and he came out there, and I said, now, you're going to send a truck. This motor weighs, I think it's 40,000 pounds. He said, I'll send him a truck. I said, you got a truck that'll pick up 40,000 pounds? Yes, sir. So anyway, up drives the auto car 30-ton truck, and I'll never forget the driver's name was Earl. He stepped out of the truck and he said, my name is Earl, and you're going to think I'm awful slow, but I don't tear up anything either. Good statement. Anyway, he sets his gin poles a little bit further out than they should have been, and he tried to pick up the Alco motor, and the front axle of his truck came off the ground. So he rearranged his gin poles and set them further, a little bit straighter up. It didn't work again. He finally set them almost straight up over the rolling tailboard, and he just clear light picked up that 40,000 pound Alco motor, and we backed the trailer under it. I'm just saying, he understood leverage. Most people today do not understand leverage. Okay, let's apply leverage to our political system today. You think Hillary Clinton might have some leverage on some powers that be, and that's why she's not in jail? There is physical leverage. It's why you can use a 6-foot pry bar called an inch bar and move that 80,000 pound boxcar, whatever it is. Okay, there is political leverage as well as physical leverage. And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand. Right now, before I get off further into leverage description, I think we got to take a break and try to pay a bill or two. So y'all hang in there. We'll be right back in just a few minutes. Okay, there's old Johnny Cash telling us how it is. Welcome back to the Common Sense with Conn show. The phone number here is 254-773-1400. If y'all want to call in and fuss about something, well, that's the phone number to use. In the meantime,
It looks just like your card.
yeah, I would like to express just a great big old thank you to the Converter Renewal Company, that's CRC, in McGregor, Texas. I went and bought a converter from him the other day for a Chevrolet pickup. Just a really good service that he provides, because he'll rebuild your torque converter in your automatic transmission for your pickup truck or whatever, and he'll save you a hatful of money. And besides that, he does really, really good work. But on top of all that is when I went to pay him, we got into a political, little bit of a religious discussion, but mostly politics.
Gee, I wonder how that happened.
Yeah, I don't know how he got me talking like that.
Yeah, really.
But anyway, he talked me into a political discussion, and I was there for quite a while. I really, really enjoyed the common sense discussion that we had about common problems that we have in this country. And at any rate, I gave him my card for the radio show, and he went and put that up on his
digital billboard, and it looks just like Conn's card. It says Common Sense with Conn Radio Talk Show, KTEM AM 1400, Saturdays noon to 2 p.m. and the call-in number. And that was just, I mean, that's an expensive billboard that he could have sold to somebody else, that slot. And that was just wonderful. We're so delighted.
Well, and I just want to express my thanks to him for doing that. And let me give you his address in McGregor. If you need a torque converter built for your Chevrolet, your Ford, your Jeep, whatever it might be, if you have an automatic transmission, you've got a torque converter. But at any rate, if you need something like that, his address is 110 Northeast 1st Street in McGregor, Texas. And his phone number is 254-840-3721. I think his name is John. But at any rate, I just want to express my thanks for his advertising my radio call-in show on his billboard. I thought that was just really, really good.
Well, and I'll put it on our Facebook page with a picture of the billboard. And so that way, if you want to get a hold of him, say thank you or do a little business with him, you can. We'd like to reciprocate.
Yeah, and, we need more business people, common people, educated people, whatever, that are interested in preserving freedom and liberty in this republic called the United States of America. We also need people to understand that this is a Judeo-Christian country, and the Judeo principles that we have here is one reason that this country is the greatest nation in the history of the world. So if we want to violate all of those Christian principles, if we want to destroy this country, then that's the way to do it. And I would submit to you that there is people out there that do want to destroy this country. Now, I think we got a Richard on the phone here that's going to help me explain this to us. Richard, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry. I was here picking up a prescription. That's why I called you. You'll never believe this. I'm here picking up one prescription, and if I don't take it, I'll die. Costing me $3,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, one prescription. Actually, it's not costing me. It's costing Medicare. And these people want to have single payer. What do they think that's going to do? This is already breaking the system.
Well, and
$3,000.
That is so insane. And let me add to your complaint there. I had some eye cataracts removed here a couple of years ago, and they gave me a prescription for eye drops to use in my eyes. I went down to Walmart, where it was, and it was $97 for a little bottle of eye drops. Well, I mentioned that to my friend who's a veterinarian, and he said, "What's the name on that bottle?" So I told him the name of the eye drops. He said, "Heck, fire, Conn, I buy that stuff by the 500-liter bottle." Said, "I'll just send a prescription to H-E-B or Walmart anyway." I shouldn't tell this, but at any rate, I got a prescription, and the same eye drops, the same size bottle, the same everything. It was not $97. It was $4.30. So, what's the difference between between $97 and $4.30. We are being ripped off. Now, I don't know how to solve that problem, except that when you turn it all over to the government and let them dictate, that $97 may go to $3,000.
That's exactly right. In anything they do, anything, and then they want to turn all of our healthcare system over to the government. Oh my God, they don't know what the heck they're talking about. I use a few other choice words, but we're on the air, and I won't do that here. But it infuriates me. And it's just, I'm sitting here in line, and I'm saying, God, I listen to you every week. And I just, he won't believe what I'm just about ready to do. $3,000 to the Medicare system. Now, they're ripping off the Medicare system, who is actually, it's the taxpayers, and we're subsidizing everybody around the world. And then we got these darn caravan people coming up, going to force their way into our border. I don't know what our military is going to do, but the left, I'll tell you one thing, they're going to lose their mind if the military does anything. So they won't do nothing. They're going to get in here.
My question is, what is the goal of the people that want to flood this country with refugees from Honduras or from Syria or wherever? These are not people coming from the same culture that we have in this country. They don't have the same value system that we have in this country. They don't honor truth the way we honor truth in this country. So what is the goal of the liberal left that wants to flood this country with other cultures, other beliefs, things like that? What do they want to accomplish? What's their goal? Because when you flood, a good example, Barack Obama wanted to bring 110,000 refugees here from Syria. 110,000. Hillary Clinton said, oh no, I want to multiply that times 550%. Okay, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of people that are not like us. They don't have the same value system that we have. What is the purpose of the liberal left that wants to do that?
Well, their purpose is to get everybody on the dole. And the more people they have on the dole, the more they feel will be indebted to them. And
yes.
They will get the power. And if they get the power, then they can attack our Constitution. The only thing that stands in their way of having complete power is our Constitution. So what are they going to do? They're going to attack the First Amendment. They're going to attack the Second Amendment, the Fourth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 25th Amendment. They're coming after it. And if they can do that by getting these people in here that don't respect our Constitution to begin with, hey, they don't care. They don't care. They don't care that we'll turn into Venezuela or Cuba or Russia, for that matter, or even China. They just want to be taken care of, you know. They come over here. I rent property. And I got people from Central America there, and I got people from Mexico there. They don't put the darn toilet paper in the damn toilet because the plumbing system over in Mexico is so bad that they're not supposed to. Well, I try and convince them, hey, you can do that here. Our plumbing system's fine. Please put it in the darn toilet and flush it. I don't like taking it out of the garbage.
Well, you know, I keep asking the same question. What is their goal? What do they want to accomplish by flooding this country? You know, I've used the example before, and I know you're tired of hearing it probably, but if you want to get rid of that sulfuric acid in that jar, pour water in it, dilute it, and all of a sudden the strength of the sulfuric acid goes away. Okay, if you want to destroy America, dilute it. Dilute it with other populations from other countries, from other cultures, from other beliefs. Keep diluting the American population, and America will go away. Now, my question is, when is common man out there that belongs to the Democrat Party, when is he going to figure this out and stop supporting the Democrats that want to destroy the dead-blamed country we live in? How hard is that to figure out? Listen to Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. Listen to what they're saying. Look at how they treated Judge Kavanaugh, based not on facts and on truth, but based on an accusation. They had already declared Judge Kavanaugh guilty with no evidence, no witness. Whatever happened to habeas corpus, whatever happened to the presumption of innocence that keeps all of us free in this country? Do the Democrats and the liberal left progressives, do they not care about the presumption of innocence? Do they not care about freedom for you and I? I'll answer my own question. No, they damn sure don't care about it. That's why they're trying to destroy it. Thank you for your call there, Richard, but you done got me stirred up.
Hey, Richard, I also wanted to tell you that I think that Trump just signed some kind of pharmaceutical executive order or bill or something so that these pharmaceutical companies would have to bring down their prices. They'd have to disclose them across the board, and they'd stop ripping off Medicare and Medicaid and the general population. So I don't know how in depth that is, but at least maybe it's a start and not a Band-Aid.
Well, and name me a program that the government has taken over that you're really proud of. Name me a government program that has been very, very successful. Which one is it?
Well, I have a question for you now. What makes an American? This country used to be a melting pot, but now this country is a mosaic. You can become a citizen of China, a citizen of Canada, or a citizen of Mexico. But you're not considered Chinese, Canadian, or Mexican. Only in America are you considered an American. So what makes you an American? Question of the day.
Well, and you have Chuck Schumer and people like that declaring that people in Honduras have constitutional rights. By what stretch of the imagination does Chuck Schumer and those people believe that constitutional rights in America extend to people in Honduras, Guatemala, Syria, or anywhere else? Constitutional rights in this Republic of the United States of America extends to United States citizens, not everyone in the world. If you use their logic, then there's 7.5 billion with a B, 7.5 billion people in the world. Do the progressives believe that our constitutional rights extend to 7.5 billion people? How insane is that thinking? Give me a little bit of logic and common sense that makes them think that. I don't understand. I don't understand how their brain works. Of course, I'm sure they don't understand me either, and that's okay. I think that we have got. I think we got a caller. Let's see what caller this is and what he wants to talk about.
Hello, Mr. Conn.
Hey, I know you. Is your name Ed?
That would be me.
Uh-oh. Okay. Well, are you going to enlighten us on this subject, Ed?
Well, I'll tell you what I want to bring to light.
Okay.
And that is a United States representative from California whose name is Eric Swalwell. He basically threatened to use nuclear weapons in a hypothetical war against Second Amendment supporters refusing to give up their firearms. Now, this is a continued attack by these communists. I don't call them Democrats anymore. They are communist Marxists. And there are continued threats against American constitutionalists and our president, duly elected president, and they're not being challenged on this.
Well, does he love freedom? Does he love America and our constitutional republic? Is he really trying to promote freedom, Ed, or is he trying to figure out how to destroy the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, and this republic that we live in?
Well, that's exactly it. These are not constitutionalists. They don't believe in the Constitution. They are Marxists.
Yes.
They are communists. What they're doing now, in my mind, is so reminiscent of what happened during the Bolshevik Revolution and every subsequent communist takeover of every other country, China, Vietnam, Cambodia, the list goes on and on. It's the same mentality.
Well, and let me guess, Ed, is he a Republican or a Democrat?
No, sir. He is a Democrat. He's not a Republican, but there's a lot of rats in the Republican Party.
Yeah, no, there is, but I'm just saying, you know, I've got 2 rats in one barn and 150 rats in another barn. You can't really compare the 2 barns, you know. So, and like I say, I was born and raised a Democrat, but if you just look at people like this guy you're talking about, he's a registered Democrat. You look at Maxine Waters, look at what she says publicly, encouraging people to assault or demonstrate or whatever against any Trump cabinet member. What is she? She's encouraging riot. That's
exactly it.
That used
That's
to be
a
called.
crime.
Yeah, it's a crime. You used to go to the federal penitentiary for doing things like that. But now you've got people standing around her when she made those statements, and they're clapping and cheering. And
well, why aren't they arrested? I mean, given the example of Maxine Waters and this Eric Swalwell, who is a representative. He's a United States representative from California. Bill Maher with his threats against the president. Alex Baldwin, Peter Fonda with his threats against Trump's son, and all. You know, the whole bunch of them.
Swalwell is planning on running for president in 2020.
oh, great!
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
He should be in prison.
I looked up what she said, and yeah, there's several articles on it, and that he did make that outlandish threat, a hypothetical war against the Second Amendment supporters refusing to give up their firearms, that we have nuclear weapons for that.
Well, let me ask you, Pino, what would happen if somebody hypothetically threatened to hang him for treason?
You'd go to jail.
Well, Ed, I keep going back to old-fashioned way of doing things, but yeah, it wasn't that many years ago that if somebody threatened your daughter or your wife, they might wind up having a fatal mistake. You know, I ask the question very often. Some teenage girl was assaulted, and they sent the criminal to jail for 6 weeks or whatever. I asked the question, where was her father? Where was her uncle? Where was her grandfather? See, not very many years ago, her father, grandfather, uncle, whoever, they would have gone down and picked up that man when he got out of jail, and he would never have raped another teenage girl. He would not have done that.
Okay, I would like to read this, okay? So, evidently, somebody, I guess, sent him a tweet. It says, so basically, at Rep. Swalwell wants a war, because that's what you're going to get. You are out of your effing mind if you think I'm going to give up my rights and give the government all the power. And that prompted him to say, to defend himself and say that it would be a short war because the government has nukes, implying that the government would use those nuclear arsenals against its own citizens. So this man is going to have the nuclear button and run for the office of presidents. That is scary, scary, scary. If he, even in an offhanded, that he totally is not professional, and he doesn't have any kind of control of his emotions.
See, Ed, I don't scare real easy, but you know what really scares me is who voted for that moron. You know, how many people in his district voted for him? Now that's what is really scary to me.
Yeah, who did vote for that moron, and at what point, and what can we do to insist that people like this who are threatening us be arrested and put away in jail?
Well, they want to do all this mental health stuff against people who own guns. What about these guys who own a nuclear weapon? They're crazier than us.
And see, I don't want to be accused of encouraging the Ku Klux Klan, the militia, or anybody else to violate the law. But if our government and our police and our system cannot go take care of that guy, then is there a need for citizens under whatever band they want to call themselves, militia, whatever it is there a need for someone to go visit that fella and give him a little bit of a change of heart?
Well, I mean, where are the checks and balances for these crazies?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If
these aren't just words or getting in somebody's face and
well,
yelling at them.
If our system can't deal with him and people like him, then what other choice do we have? Because I keep making the statement, when you reward bad behavior, what in the hell do you expect to get more of?
Well, I posted two of those articles to your Facebook page so people can read them for themselves.
Well, that guy is rewarded for his behavior by people electing him to the United States Congress. Well, by electing him to the U.S. Congress, what do you expect to get more of? You expect to get more people just like him, and maybe some that are worse. And right now we got to go to a break, Ed. I appreciate you bringing that up. Y'all hang in there. We'll be back in just a minute.
We'll give them two.
Okay, here we are back on the Common Sense with the Conn show, and I need to give a big old thank you to our board operator for picking that Patsy Cline beautiful song, which kind of lets my nerves kind of slow down just a little bit because I was considering trying to find an airplane ticket out to California to meet this jerk, whoever it is, that hates America and wants to destroy it. Wants to use a nuclear weapon
against its own
against
citizens.
gun owners in America.
No, its own citizens. It wouldn't just, if you're going to do a nuclear weapon, it's going to take more than just those one or two gun owners. Or, how's he going to get them? He's going to put them all in one camp and then do them all in?
Well, and my
You're
question
gonna have fallout.
this guy's a Democrat. He is a U.S. congressman and is part of the Democrat Party. My question to each and every one of us out here in listening land, if you own a gun, if you believe in the Bill of Rights, the Constitution of the United States, if you qualify for that, what in the cat hair are you doing in the Democrat Party? Have you lost your dad blame mind, or why are you a Democrat?
Why is this normal? Why is this acceptable language, behavior, rhetoric? Why is this acceptable?
Yeah, and like I say, I hate to belittle or talk about the Democrat Party, but this is who is representing the Democrat Party. Him and Maxine Waters and people like that. My question is, why are you voting Democrat?
You know what?
What
It's kind of
you
like
got up between your ears?
it's kind of like
soured water.
Bush's old, his shock and awe when he went into Iraq. That's what the Democrats are doing to us, the people, not the Republicans, the rhinos, the establishment, but to us. It's shock and awe. We're just sitting here, just shocked out of our brains, falling out of our shoes, and just our mouth dropped open of how somebody would be so over the top and make such outlandish rhetoric. I can't talk now.
Let me remind our listening audience that we're down to 1 minute. But here last December, the high school students in Killeen, Texas, were marching down the street protesting the Second Amendment, our right to own a gun in this country. It was in the Temple Daily Telegram that who sponsored those kids to do that was the NAACP and the Democrat Party. Now, these people want to destroy the Second Amendment. Here again, if you're a gun owner, pray tell me how you can justify being a Democrat. I don't understand that.
Back in a minute or two.